I'm really excited to introduce our speakers from Cycles of Change. We have Diego Arana, Janak Preston, and Natalie Ramos. Without further ado, Cycles of Change, everybody.
Thanks so much for having us. We're excited to be here. I'll just do a really brief overview of what we do, and then we'll get into it more in a second. But Cycles of Change has been around since 1998. So we are a 24-year organization, 24-year-old organization. I'll just read you our mission statement. Our mission is to improve the health and sustainability of East Oakland neighborhoods by increasing the use of bicycles as transportation. We broaden access to biking in low-income communities of color through education programs and low-cost or free resources, connecting youth with the extraordinary living ecosystems of our local area, and building a diverse community of visionary young leaders. So we'll talk a little more about all of those pieces and what that looks like in action and some of our different programs as we talk a little more. But just to all introduce ourselves individually, I'm Janak. I have been working with Cycles for about going on 2 years. And it's been a really inspiring, incredible organization to be a part of. And just to be able to meet so many students all across the county. So we work in East Oakland, and then we also work as far south as Fremont and as far north as like Albany, El Cerrito. And it's just been really special meeting students, learning from students, teaching many students how to ride a bike for the very first time. Watching them have that feeling of it actually clicking in and they're able to balance. I think no matter how, burnt out some of us may be sometimes on because we all do our own administration pieces. So anytime I'm feeling tired of looking at a screen, it's always really nice to go out and work with the kids. Yeah, we'll get into more stuff later, but I'll pass it over to Natalie.
I'm Natalie. I joined the Cycles team in October of this past year. So it's only been a few months. I'm still kind of orienting myself. But my first impression of the org has been super positive. It has been a really great way for me to reintegrate into my community. I grew up in Oakland. I went to middle school at one of the schools that we have a bike club at. So it feels very much like a returning to home for me. And so that's been really important to me. Similar to Janak, I really enjoy working in schools and just connecting with students, seeing what makes them smile, seeing what brings them joy and how they kind of inspire that in one another and in us as educators. I'll add that before working at Cycles, I did not have a bike. I actually came across their hiring page when I was looking for a place to get a bike. And so I found the Bikery and I was like, oh, they're hiring, that's cool. And so it may seem like an org that's full of super intense biker pros. I would not identify that way. So I just feel like that's important for me to add because I feel like it can be kind of intimidating maybe for folks to want to be involved and they're like, oh, I don't know that much about biking. You don't need to know that much about biking. I did not, and I still don't. I'm learning and I've learned a lot through our programs. And I'm grateful to be here. Thank you. I'll pass that over to Diego.
My name is Diego. Pronouns, I use he, him. It's nice to be here and see all your faces and stuff and some more bike enthusiastic folks. A little bit about me, originally from Watsonville, California. I came up here when I was 17 years old, looking for, a way to get away from the farm. Let me see, been in biking my whole life. The bicycle was, a toy, a tool, to get to the corner store and get my bag of Cheetos or whatever. And then, I brought a bike up here with me. I lived in the city about 14 years and was just kind of riding around the city in this clunky yellow beach cruiser. not the best bike for San Francisco, the city, but I mean, that's all I had. So I used it. And then I just came into like bike touring. I did some bike tours. I got into like bike touring education too, taking youth on bike tours. That I found Cycles of Change, doing more more urban stuff like bike safety education. And then through that, the other programs that we have, there's the Bikery. It's our nonprofit bike shop, where we just serve the community and getting more folks in East Oakland, which is, a underrepresented area of the Bay, of a lot of folks that use bikes as their form of transportation to get to work. So just being at that shop, I'm there every Wednesday, and working on the community's bikes, sometimes just for free, whatever, on the sidewalk, or just getting bikes out to the community to use the bike. So yeah, my thing is just getting out the bikes, getting bikes out to community for free or as cheap as possible. So yeah, and that's just some of the programs. Also do the teaching with Natalie and Janak. We go to, we're in Alameda County, and we go through thousands and thousands of students a school year of bike safety education. So we just go there, take over a PE class for 3 days, and just run our curriculum and get the youth ready for these streets. Because just kind of back what Natalie was saying, that it's intimidating, riding next to big vehicles is intimidating, and sometimes can, scare folks away from using a bicycle as a form of transportation. So it's really cool that we can prepare them with as much as possible, and the confidence part is the big piece. I feel like that we help, the tool that we help them like kind of use out in the streets, right? Just to be confident and able to communicate with traffic and how to do that. So yeah, a little bit about me and bicycles and why I love it so much. And I'll pass the mic over to Natalie. Yeah.
I'm going to be giving you a little bit of overview of our history. As Janak mentioned, we started in 1998, which was the year I was born. We started as a bike club at Roosevelt Middle School in East Oakland. And so it was an after-school bike club. The students there would do like neighborhood rides, as well as they gained a lot of mechanic skills. And while they were gaining those mechanic skills, they were able to participate in kind of like an earn a bike thing. So as they like learned different, like how to fix different parts of the bike, it kind of went towards them eventually being able to like take whatever bike they were working on and make it their own, and take it home at the end of the semester, a year, whatever. So I started at Roosevelt. That program quickly became very popular, and I think it involved like students at Roosevelt Middle School as well as like students from the neighborhood that weren't at the school. So that kind of took off. Folks that started the club there were inspired to expand to other middle schools, such as Bret Hart was one of them. Bret Hart is currently our longest running bike club. It is in program today, so it's been 22, 23 years. And so in the following years, like as those bike clubs were kind of getting more established, I believe that was when Cycles also started working with PE classes, like during the school day, doing that 3-day program that Diego mentioned, which day one is just getting folks fitted with like their helmet and their bike that they're going to use for the week. And then we go through some like rules of the road and lane drills and stuff. And then day 3 is when we take them off campus. So that I would say is kind of the bulk of our programs now, but that's not how Cycles of Change started. It was kind of a gradual growth and expansion. Cycles became a 501c3 officially in 2007. And then we opened our bike shop called the Bikery in 2009. It is currently on 23rd Avenue and International in East Oakland. We moved to that spot from the original spot. I believe it was 2014. And then in 2017, the owner of the building that we were in was deciding to sell the building. And so Cycle's employees, as well as other tenants of the building, decided to collectively buy the land or the building. So before we were renting, and now we own the building along with other tenants on 23rd Avenue. So that's a little fun fact, and a way that we've been able to kind of be empowered and have a little bit more autonomy over the space that we run there. So yeah, it's the middle of the school year now. We're in the thick of Drive Your Bike, which is that 3-day program that I mentioned, as well as bike clubs. We have an upcycle program, which is like an earn a bike thing that I mentioned before, as well as work at the bike shop. So we're pretty busy. I'm going to pass it over to Janak, and she's going to talk about our structure.
So one thing that's unique about Cycles of Change is that we are a collectively run organization. So we don't have like an executive director or a CEO or a president. There's a staff collective of about 8 people who kind of make decisions together. So one of the things that's really important to us when we think about our values as an organization, right? It's like shared knowledge and kind of horizontal structures as much as possible, and making sure that we're not leaving out any voices, right? Like of people, like we want everyone who works at Cycles to feel really empowered, as you know, that their voice matters, right? Their voice is part of decision-making conversations. And so we make most of our big decisions on a consensus-based model between an 8-person collective team. So that's just something that's kind of unique about us. We do also have a board of directors with folks who work at, one of our board members works at the Oakland Public Library, one works at Exploratorium in San Francisco. We have small business owners, the owner of Laurel Cyclery, which is another local bike shop. So yeah, that's something that's really important to us as an organization. And related to that, I think, is just like being a space and creating a space for folks of color and for queer folks to really feel like our leadership is being centered. So Cycles of Change currently is an all POC organization, and what's the word I'm looking for? Majority queer leadership. And so that's something also that I think for many of us is very like near and dear to our heart about the organization, and that feels really unique and feels different than some other places that we've worked at, that feels really special and important. So in addition to that, we also do a lot of prioritizing and just trying to build kind of support systems for to bring folks into the fold, right? And to make sure that people who maybe are interested in working at Cycles, but maybe they don't have, certain kinds of experience, or maybe they haven't had access to higher education, things like this. We try to make sure that we're really prioritizing like local folks, people from the neighborhood, people who maybe don't have those other types of experiences, kind of formalized experience. And there was one other thing I was going to add. Yeah, basically we all wear, because of that, we all wear a lot of hats, right? So that's another like core value, is that those of us who are doing administrative work in the organization, be that fundraising, human resources, anything like that, that we're also out teaching, right? We want to make sure that we're always an organization of educators first and foremost, that we do these other kind of administrative things. And obviously those are super important for the organization to be functioning and to be, robust and full of life and viable in a long-term way, but that we don't lose that connection with like the students, right? Or the folks in our community who are coming by the bike shop to get a bike and stuff like this, because that's why we're all doing the work. That's what's most important. about the work that we're doing. And so I think that's another thing that makes Cycles of Change a little bit unique, and that feels very important to us about it as well.
Also, like, we can't do this alone, right? There's I think maybe 15 of us right now trying to do this, right? And Cycles of Change is a small nonprofit but with a big heart, and we try to reach as far as we can, right? But we can only do it between us. And when we do like try to connect with other and collaborate with other programs in the Bay, but this is an opportunity for everyone that's here that can jump in on this and also help this community with the bikes. And because I'm assuming we all love bikes here, right? So yeah, there's many ways you can support. We have like an ongoing campaign. You could always skip a couple of lattes and drop some love into our campaign. I could put that site on there too. The way the Bikery runs, actually all of our bike programs are all donated bikes. So we have our Drive Your Bike program is the education program that we run. We go Alameda County, we mentioned earlier. I think pre-pandemic, we were like 9,000 youth that we were reaching with bike safety education. And we were still able to like transition into the virtual world. We didn't reach as many as we can, but we reached, folks from home, right? So we can go across the country if someone's interested in that, or other side of the world that doesn't have that access to what bike safety looks like. But all of the fleet is about, our fleet of bicycles is about 250 bikes, which were all donated. The bike clubs, we have 3 currently running, and 2, one is going to start soon, which Natalie will be running that. And then we have another one, hopefully going back to Roosevelt Middle School where we started. We're just trying to find staff to get that bike club going, but that would be amazing. Those are all donated bikes, and the Bikery also runs off donations. So the Bikery is a nonprofit bicycle shop, community bicycle shop. The way it used to run actually before pandemic was what it is, a community shop. So we would set up 3 bike stands, and the community can just come in, use our tools. We had a lot of like used components for bikes, and they can just come in and work on their bikes themselves. If they have any questions, there were mechanics there that can pull away for a second and help house some cablings on their bike or whatever, adjust the brake. Now we're slowly getting out of this pandemic, and hopefully we can restart that again. We had a earn a bike program where youth would come in, work 3 shifts, and then they would get a bike, sometimes build their own bike. But all from donated bicycle frames, bicycles that come into the shop. Everything that's sold at the shop are rebuilt bikes by the mechanics at the shop, sometimes interns and youth from the community. All of those funds go to supporting the program. So it's a nonprofit community bike shop, which is amazing. So like a lot of this stuff, I mean, we're kind of like the hub of this, but it all comes from community. So also if you have bicycles that you're not using that are housing spider webs, normally bikes house cables, and you can bring that to us, and we'd be happy to rebuild it and get it back out to the community. Volunteers, if there's any mechanics here or just any type of thing, anywhere you feel like you can help, spread the word or whatever to your friends, families you think are interested in the work that we do. We could put you on our newsletter that goes out once a month. And we're also on Instagram if you want to follow us. I see we're all young here, maybe y'all TikTok or something, but we're on Instagram if you want to follow us. So there's many ways to connect and stay connected with us. Yeah, once you donate something you're gonna get bothered by us for like newsletters and opportunities and stuff. So just continue that. So yeah, and then we're also trying to get a lot more community stuff going on. Now that things are feeling a little safer, but yeah, hopefully we keep pedaling forward on where we're at right now, and just keep doing what we're doing. It's pretty amazing that we're able to get through pandemic. The bike shop actually the bike shop only used to be open 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But because of pandemic, we're open 6 days a week now. And the pandemic was kind of a blessing for the bike shop because we were able to give a lot of more cycles, staff more hours at the shop, and a lot of people were getting on bikes, which was amazing. It was crazy for us, and in the industry too. You know, the bike components were just backlogged for like months, some a year. So it was pretty crazy. It was fun being there and just like community coming in, outside, and helping folks, fix flats or whatever, things basic like that. But
Frank, go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah, I do. It's actually two questions. One is, I looked at your website and it looks like you sell bicycles. Is that correct?
that's correct. The Bikery
Okay.
sells used bicycles or
Got
rebuilt
it.
bicycles.
I've been thinking about getting into bicycling to work. And I've been kind of going back and forth on the e-bike and the real bike. The e-bike seems to draw me in that direction. But I'm willing to explore having a real bike, so to speak. So with that, what would you recommend? Because it doesn't look like you have a wide selection. Here I am, thinking about getting into bicycling, and I would be, traveling from, East Oakland, more or less, down to, Broadway, 20th and Broadway, back and forth. So what type of bike would you recommend?
Very cool. Yeah, thank you for asking that. So the reason why the website it looks limited, so we had to break it down because we receive the donated bikes, we rebuild them, and they don't usually stay in the shop that long, just because they're super affordable. So what you can do is come to the shop. This is what I recommend you do. Come to the shop, meet with one of us, and we have like a basement full of frames and donated bikes that have been like donated that we rebuild, or there's also bikes that have already been rebuilt on the floor, and then you'll be fitted with a bike, and you'll get a bike that feels comfortable for you for commuting. Yeah, so I would recommend like a hybrid, a commuter bike. The bike I use is a touring bike, a super heavy steel bike, but I love it. I'm not sure if I would recommend it for everyone just because it's so heavy and it's mostly meant for riding long distances. But yeah, feel free to come by. Yeah,
I'll come down. I'll say Diego said to come down.
come by Wednesday and Diego will be there.
Okay.
And Diego will
Good
help you
deal.
out.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah, for
that.
sure.
Will, go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of biking infrastructure, is there like a model city somewhere in the world you look to that you think other cities could replicate as to the types of bike paths or protections that other cities should have?
It looks like you're in that city, Amsterdam. I wish,
Yeah, that's where this was taken.
Is that where it's at? Yeah. That's like the model right there, we are so behind. And some of the infrastructure that is in the Bay is it's not well thought out. It's really bad. They dead end. They just don't protect the cyclists that much. So yeah, I think there's a lot that we can do out here. But we are super behind. There's a lot of folks riding bikes too. And I'm here in Richmond, is where I live. We have some bike lanes and stuff, but it's just, I see a lot of folks out here riding bikes, and you have to share the road with these huge vehicles, and it's not protected at all. So yeah, I think Amsterdam, they had it down forever, and we're so behind on, for whatever reason. Well, I'm sure there's many reasons why, and it comes from the pocket. But yeah, Janak and Natalie, if you all want to jump in too, they both have nicer voices than mine. I know I don't want to give you guys a headache.
Josephine?
Yeah, I wanted to know, let's see, I see you're getting bikes in the hands of people who need them, and you're teaching bike education to schools. And so what are your, if you got $200,000 today or something from some huge donor. What is your priority? Is it getting bikes in hands or education programs, or is it 50-50? Like if you just were to project out the next 5 years, where do you want your growth? And yeah, the priorities.
Yeah, we really, it's all of the above. Like, I think we think of our approach to the work that we're doing as like a bunch of different prongs that are all interconnected, right? And all happening at the same time. So, and yeah, we see them as very related, right? Because a kid might find out about us, right, in one of our education programs, and they might say, hey, I've never, known how to ride a bike, or maybe I never thought that, biking was for me. I thought, oh, people like me, people who look like me, we can't bike or whatever. And then we come in, they see us and they say, oh, okay, maybe I can do this, right? We teach them how to bike, whatever. So then they're aware of cycles of change. They're excited about biking. Then maybe they find the Bikery and they say, hey, I really want to work on my mechanic skills. And then they do training with us and, and learn kind of how to do mechanics. We're providing them with employment, right? Living wage employment, more, sustainable wage employment more than living wage employment. And so now all of a sudden there's different like career options that folks can access. We have a lot of folks, like I was saying, like there's a lot of people who've been at Cycles for a long time and who've learned about us because of finding out about like being a participant in one of our programs or our classes. So I think we think of all of our programs as like things that are, going hand in hand and happening at the same time. For us to have as broad of a reach as possible, right? Because it's not just the adult commuters who need the bikes. It's not just the kids in the schools who need bike safety education. These things are very related. So that said, one other particularly pressing thing right now, when you ask, oh, if we were to get some big grant, what are the priorities now and for the next couple of years? There's a number of things I could say, but something that's on my mind particularly is we have a storage location that recently there was mercury discovered. It is unfortunately on a former Clorox manufacturing plant. So this is where all of our bikes live for our school-based programs. And we have a really good deal on this storage location, but it's not going to be sustainable for us because it's not safe for us, for anyone who's working at Cycles to keep working there. And so we're currently looking into investing in a new space. So kind of a second space in addition to the Bikery space, a second location, kind of like, a satellite location, you could think of it, that's less public facing and more just focused on, our storage, but largely also like our classes, and can be kind of an educational site, both for our own, like the training and development of our own staff, and like other folks in the community can serve as a place for folks to meet up, class participants to meet up, our upcycle program can use it. So, and that's going to be quite a lot more expensive because A, we're looking for more space, and B, like I mentioned, we have this like kind of ridiculously cheap rent on our current storage space, which we're just not going to find anywhere else where there's not mercury. And maybe, maybe they knew, and that's why our rent is so cheap. So that's something really like immediate that I'm like, oh yeah, like this, it's a thing we've been talking about. But there's some other projects we're looking for. We're trying to restart our queer women, trans and femme wrenching nights. So we notice when we put out calls for applications and things like this, we get often, a lot of cis men, because women, queer folks, trans folks, femme folks are all kind of underrepresented, right, in cycling, specifically bicycle mechanics. So this is something, oh yeah, thank you, Natalie. Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, wrenching is working on bikes, doing maintenance and repairs and things like that. So we're trying to restart that program right now, which is something that was happening pre-pandemic, and then the funding kind of dried up, and there were folks were just really stretched thin. So we're excited about that as well, just as one other example on another side of something that we're working on.
Thank you. That gives me an idea of where you're at now and generally.
Okay, are there any other questions before we move to wrap up things? I think we'll have like about 5 minutes left after our questions. So any more? No. Okay, cool.
Wait, just
All
one
right.
quick one for
Okay.
Diego. After going to the Pelourinho, why did you come home?
I missed the bed and a warm shower.
I
We
see.
spent a lot of our time sleeping in hammocks, and which was nice, you know, but a nice warm shower, you know, hasn't hurt anyone. We miss that. Also miss the bay too, to be real. Like during that trip, folks would join us like for like 2 weeks or a weekend. Well, not a weekend, but like 2 weeks or a month or so. And they would come from the bay or from wherever. And I'd always request, you know, can you bring me some like cheese board pizza or something like that? I just miss the food out here so much.
Cheese board pizza.
I could only eat so many tacos, or I could only eat something like pão de queijo in Brazil or something like that for so long, right? Before I start like craving some Bay Area food.
Yeah, but some of that street food there is wonderful. Salvador de Bahia is lovely. That place is special.
Yeah, I can never hold down a carajé, but
Yeah,
some other people have a better stomach than I do.
yeah, but it's enough palm oil to kill you. Yeah.
As a thanks for speaking to our club, we're donating vaccines in your name to our End Polio Now initiative for all 3 of you. So hooray! It's one of the big missions that Rotary has, and we're grateful for your time speaking to our club. And, you know, we just want to show our thanks that way.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So, sorry, I gotta go at that first. Yeah, that's cool.
But wait,
There's more.
there's more.
Okay.
Armando, you
Yeah.
want to talk about it?
Yeah, so I'm actually the one that brought up the Bikery and Cycles of Change to our group. I originally came across you guys because I think I needed an inner tube or maybe a new rim. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was an inner tube. And we actually live near San Antonio Park, so we're within walking distance of the Bikery. And when I needed the inner tube, I was looking for a bike shop, and I was like, well, this is kind of the closest thing, and so I should go check it out. And we had actually passed by it, driven by it a few times. I was like, that looks interesting. So I finally went down and checked it out, and got one of the flyers, the little pamphlets that you guys have at the checkout desk, and thought it was awesome organization. And I've been back a few times, usually for inner tubes because of all these Oakland potholes. Where you do a number on your tires. But anyway, for the Super Bowl, so this seems like a different topic, but you'll see the connection in a moment. For the Super Bowl, our group actually did a fundraiser with, I don't know if you're familiar with football squares, like it's a grid, and well, anyway. So basically we did a fundraiser for the Super Bowl. And there were a lot of participants. One of our participants, which is a coworker of mine and friend, found out that we were interested in helping Cycles of Change. And so he mentioned that he had a bicycle that used to belong to his grandson, that the grandson had outgrown. So I was like, hey, would they be interested? And so I was like, yes, they definitely take donations. So we have a bicycle, at least one, definitely coming your way. But again, there's more.
Killing me here, Armando.
So with the donation, we're actually donating $1,500 to you guys, $1,500 to you guys, to Cycles of Change, in support of all of your programs, because obviously for a long time, our group is focused on youth. So that's a big thing, big reason why we wanted to do this for you guys. A lot of our members are avid bicyclists. Some of us more than others, but a lot of us really enjoy bicycling. And so that was another reason. The fact that you're so focused on accessibility and bringing it to people that are in underserved communities is also a huge thing. So we wanted to make sure that we could support you guys and do this for you. So you have at least one bicycle and $1,500 coming your way from us.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know what else. I'd love to make sure we share some love to you all as well. So feel free to send an email with we'd love to get some swag shirts or something like that, where you can represent cycles. Get some shirts.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Y'all. Yeah, just thank you. This is great.
You're very welcome.
And I love the story behind that. How you just came by and you got to meet us and be at the shop, right?
I definitely had a great experience going in there. It was great customer service. The selection of parts that you guys have, it seems a little overwhelming to me, how much stuff you guys have, but it was awesome shop. And I do remember seeing the stands where people could come in and work on their own, and the signage about just ask us for the tools. And so that was really awesome to see.
Cool. Yeah, that's what we want. I think that's one thing that I love being there is it's just not your traditional bike shop that you kind of it's what you're sometimes, at least my experience is, what do you want, not what you need. And for us, I feel it's how can we help you, and how can we get you back on the street? So that's super important to us. We try to treat folks equally across. And even when they bring in the compartment store bikes, we work on them. I know a lot of shops shame people for getting them, but that's sometimes what you can afford, right? It's not cheap living in the Bay. So we understand that, and we want to make sure folks are on their bikes. So cool.
Everybody.